Hey, good morning and welcome to the Up Zone, where understanding politics is made simple. We are your two hosts. I am Tisha S. Waddell. I am a former House for Floyd. I'm a former House representative. I'm a former city councilwoman for the city of Fayetteville, District 3. I'm joined by a former House representative from District 43 of the state of North Carolina, Mr. Elmer Floyd. How are you this morning, sir?
Great, Tish. Doing this one.
Look, I'm over here trying to take your accolades.
Oh, no,
I can't take no accolades. I don't know
no.
why this thing is telling us every week that our stream is locked. I don't even know how to fix it. I'm not going to fight with it. I'm just going to go in and do what I did last week. So we're not going to worry about live streaming today. I will upload this to our social media and eventually I will figure out what is happening that is causing the live stream to be locked. But that is not my priority today. My priority right now is getting into the gritty in the city and the word on the curb. And Mr. Floyd, before we even get started, let's dispense of all the pleasantries. How goes your week this week?
So far, so good. So good so far.
I like that. So far, so good, so good, so far. I second that. I am having a really good week. I won't mention the name of the school just yet, but yesterday, Peyton and I went, my youngest daughter and I went and visited another school for her college tour. We were blown away by what we saw. Just a really great experience. It makes choosing a school really hard. Who knew college was so friggin' expensive?
Well,
It's so expensive.
are you just waking up today to realize that?
Well, I've graduated one daughter from college, but she was easy. She went to a school that we were able to graduate her debt free, and she walked away with a great degree, and she's employed now, and it's just a different experience. But these schools range from next to nothing to next to impossible when it comes to pricing.
You, you have to accept what is there, and that's the North Carolina. What's it? North Carolina promise.
Mr. Floyd, how much you think they giving away?
I mean, those schools that qualify, it was sort of like $500 semester, and I think the state is 250, and you can go to any graduate school once
Mr.
you
Floyd, let me ask you a question. What you think $500 is gonna get you at
a
some of
whole
these
lot,
institutions?
a whole lot on the North Carolina promise.
Yeah, but that's if that's the school you want to go to. But everybody doesn't have a desire to be at a North Carolina promise school.
Well, you know, so does he give it? So does he take it away?
So does he take it away? Yeah.
But
But I
so
shared with my daughter, I said, we are in this season of our lives, we are trusting God's promise and his plan for us. And so we are believing that wherever he desires for her to end up at is where he's going to open doors for her to be. And that's just what we're going to hold on to. But I'll tell you, Mr. Floyd, it is something else. Some of these schools roll the red carpet out for you when you go to visit them.
yes,
And some of them,
they rolled out the red carpet too with a V.
oh, absolutely. 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 And there's a huge difference in the marketing for those different price points of schools. There's a huge difference. But I'll tell you, I do think that being educated is important. I don't think, and I've always said this even to my children, I don't think that college is mandatory. It depends on what you want to go into when later in life, because there are so many things that you can do in life that don't require a college degree and that still allow you to make a very good living. You as an example, these trades, and trades are not just for men. So women, y'all need to understand you can be a plumber too. You can do HVAC also. So you can be a welder. Trades are not just for men.
But I can say to you, too, being a teacher or a professional, you are locked into an annual. Repeat, you're locked into an annual salary.
Right.
Everybody's gonna flush a commode. Everybody's gonna turn on the light at some point in time. Everybody is gonna need some heating and cooling at some point in time.
Right.
And in the trucking industry, they say there are 194,000 truck
Short.
drivers short by
Mhm.
2040.
Mhm.
So or had to get the goods and service to the market. So a
Mhm.
college degree is good, but them brothers is raking in six figures.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely. And you
seven
know,
night a week,
Floyd, with
seven
no
night a week.
college debt. With no
Yeah,
college debt.
seven
Mm,
nine a week. You know, and that plumber that goes in there and charge you $150 just to arrive,
mhm.
or $75 just to arrive.
Mhm.
I didn't say anything about repair now, just so you can visit your lovely house too.
Right. Right.
And you
Absolutely.
already have what you need on the truck.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And listen, and like they say, you're not paying me for what I do. You paying me for the fact that I know how to do this. You're not paying me to clean out your pipe. You're paying me for the knowledge that I have that lets me know how to clean out your pipes. And I think that that's so profound. But I do, I support my daughter wants to be an attorney, and so we do recognize that because of that, she does have to have a college education. And so, I support that. Go ahead.
But everyone, this is what we must start planning in all of our children's head, that you need to have the college to be successful.
Successful. Right. Because I don't have a college degree and I've been very successful. And I
But
think that while I went to college, but I didn't finish. And I think that there is a level of when we, in the black community, I know for sure there's this prideful thing that we have. I know when I was coming up, Floyd, everybody, the thing that they said was you go to college, you get a good job, and that you can retire from so you can whatever. But that wasn't really the path for me, and I've enjoyed my path. Again, I've been very successful. I found myself in rooms with many people that are college educated, and we're doing the same thing.
geez, I know at one point in time, the starting salary for teachers, this was $5,500. So
Mhm.
you look today, you look at the teacher now, it's hovering around somewhere around 43,000.
Mhm.
But if you take that and advance that 20 years, from 55,000, 5,500, and
Mhm.
you look at their retirement today, it's without Social Security teachers, it's pretty low.
Yeah, it's slim. It's slim. But I don't begrudge anybody in education. So I don't want to sway anybody one way or the other. But we are having fun school shopping. We're having a great time. She's a smart girl, so she's got a lot of options. We're excited about that.
Well, let's look at that teacher if we take it, moving right now, if we can look forward to the General Assembly is
Mhm.
meeting next month to tweak the budget.
Mhm.
Part of the budget, the 58% of the budget is education.
Absolutely.
K-12, community college, and your 4 year community, 4 year college.
State
So you
schools.
can see a lot of money is poured into education as it relates to the state budget. So, it's not something that the state take lightly. So I
Right.
suggest to your family, don't take it lightly.
Absolutely.
To spend
Absolutely.
that
It's
kind of money.
it's a big decision. It is a big decision to make. Mr. Floyd, one of the things that we have on our agenda today, I think is directly tied to education. I really do, because I think when we talk about homelessness, opportunities for and when I say education, I'm not talking about a college degree, but opportunities to be able to move forward out of poverty and out of homelessness, they pair very well with your ability to gain a skill or to increase your academic knowledge base so that you can be employable. So I say that to say, when we look at the homeless resource center, let's kind of talk about that conversation and what the impact of a partner with this center that was running this center saying, hey, we're not going to renew our contract, because that's what we saw. A week ago, we saw in the Fayetteville Observer, it was reported that the current partner for the Day Resource Center with the city of Fayetteville has announced that this summer they will not renew their contract. What does that mean for the people that are in homelessness in Fayetteville, North Carolina, who rely upon this resource center?
Well, first of all, the city is hoping that send out a request for someone to pick up the contract going forward after the contract expires
Mm-hmm.
there. And I hope that this time that the new contract that the staff would, the legal staff now, will take the time in a work session to go over the contract with the city. Not to say that they didn't or whether they did, but there was some question raised by certain council members, some council members uh, were led to believe that there was a lack of communication as it
Mm-hmm.
relates to the contract
Which
agreement.
do you recall from that article? Because I can't access Fayetteville Observer articles because I refuse to pay for a subscription. But can you recall from that article who those individuals were on the council that raised that concern?
But I think there was conversation from, I think it was Hale, and I think it was Mario, and I think at the end it was Courtney. Uh,
Okay.
uh, in a mixed conversation because they questioned the provider indicated that they had already serviced 990 plus. Their agreement was 220, 200, somewhere hovering around 200. So
Mm-hmm.
that made them, overextend themselves in providing the services.
So
Uh,
has the homeless count changed in Cumberland County? Because
but
I know at one point the number didn't exceed 400 in terms of the count for homelessness.
I mean, the latest count was 475.
Okay, so when they say they've served 900, are they serving people outside of Cumberland County or are they serving the same people multiple times?
Well, it may be multiple services because those persons was outside, and when
Mhm.
they look at it, they say that the life expectancy of a person that's homeless is about 49. The life
Okay.
expectancy. And so those persons has a lot of illness that
Mhm.
require them to get more than one visit, to this provider. So
Mhm.
it could be individuals being seen more than one time, but at the same time, the agreement was 200, plus people.
Right.
So that,
So essentially they were saying you guys have overburdened us and this is
yeah,
not per our contract and so we don't wish to renew.
well, I mean, it's overextended their
Right.
contract. So when you
Right.
provide
Right.
a service to about 700 people more than what you anticipate,
Right.
that's not cheap.
Right.
That,
And that's not what you signed up for. And so you either going to increase what your output is to us or we're going to have to step back.
well, it's just like, when you do this, one of the things that is required of that resource center, as an example, is internet.
Mhm.
So if you want a provider to provide free internet service when the school system is paying $98,000 a year for internet service, but you want
Mhm.
a provider to provide you free internet service. So it just seems to me that you should just appropriate these things as an over operational, you know,
Right.
expense.
As the cost of doing business.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
right.
So
So, there have been so many complaints about this day resource center since it opened. I'll be very forthcoming with you and tell you that I've not really stayed abreast of the ins and outs of it. I've seen a few articles, I've heard a few comments. I think the bottom line is, and I was talking to, I went and talked to a county commissioner recently. I was speaking with Jimmy Keefe and I was saying to him that I think that is very interesting that the city of Fayetteville still has not actively and aggressively partnered with Cumberland County on this issue because Cumberland County is tasked with health and human services. That is both a federal mandate and a county mandate. It is not a city mandate. And when I talk about the mandates, I don't need anybody getting all up in a tizzy to tell me that the city should be concerned about mental health. Absolutely, they should. However, let me say this if we allow people to function within the wheelhouses that they have expertise, we all excel in that instance. And because the county houses the services that address health and human services, we would excel as a city if we partnered with the county to fulfill the mission of trying to help our population that is facing or dealing with homelessness. Because, Mr. Floyd, there are reasons for homelessness that are directly tied to health and human services. The easiest instance of homelessness to address is economic issues. So if a person is homeless because of an economic issue, that is the simplest one to resolve, because all you have to do is give them an economic opportunity and support them while they build up their storehouse. The other ones are much more difficult. When you're talking about addiction, when you're talking about choice, when you're talking about mental health, those are much more difficult to deal with. And they're not as easy as give them a home and give them a job, because you still have to address the health and human services issues. So when I know when we were having this conversation at the city level, when I was there, my concern was, why are we not doing this with the county? Why is this not a collaborative effort with the county? And often you will see me, Floyd, if I don't agree with something, I will just pull back and let the powers that be, I'll state my piece. If I cannot gain consensus and I know that I'm not going to gain consensus, I'll just pull back and let you do what you're getting ready to do and continue to make my point known so that I'm on record.
You know, when we look at that, that Poplar Spring Lake, Spring
Hmm.
Lake,
All of Cumberland County.
all of those, all the Eagle Spring Lake, but it is the county responsibility, to provide these services. And so, you know, so if I want to help as a council, then I will look at it doing it from an appropriation stand point of view. So I can go on and provide the other services that I have the expertise in, in providing. Now, haven't you know haven't said that the city did partner with the county on providing the county the land to build a
Yeah, but
overnight.
that's not what I mean when I say
I mean,
partnership.
I'm just saying
That's
what you're saying.
not
You're
what I
talking,
mean. Now go build your own. That's they said, okay, ours is not doing well. Now go build your own.
but it's part of the. I mean, it's part. Sometimes you have to look at, like you said, the experience, and that's one thing that this count. I mean, that our county, they don't look at experience. They
Mhm.
look on ideology and who they like and who they favor in the
The
project and
county
program.
or the city or
Both,
both?
both.
Okay. Okay.
They don't look at experience. They operate to me just off gut feeling about.
You mean the voters? You're talking about the voters.
Well, I don't see no difference between the voters and also the people that are elected. I don't see no difference. I mean, they
It's the
all come
culture
from
of the community. It is the culture of our community.
they all come from the same nest egg.
Mhm.
So, but my concern is that that if I don't have the expertise, then why not help contribute whatever it is percentage wise to help. But when the day center was uh, was first thought about, and I think over $7 million was spending, it was it was it was stated to that it was a day center.
Mhm.
Yeah, but some voters and they protest about it should be an overnight shelter.
Well, and
But it's
and
time.
to her credit, Courtney Banks McLaughlin has said that repeatedly, that it should be more than just a day center. I think they would have been able to get to that end. See, this was the issue. This was being built, and you talk about this all the time. This was being built with grant dollars. So when you are receiving grant dollars, you have to work within the confines of that grant. But it doesn't say that you can't do your part within the confines of that grant and still partner with somebody else to be able to provide some other options. It was just an ineffective execution. It was an ineffective execution. They were running out of time to spend the grant dollars, and so they had to hurry, rush, get it done, because they could not come to an agreement. The council could not come to an agreement on how to execute this. And so because it took so long, they were getting ready to run out of time to use that funding.
But
It was
teach
use it or lose it.
You know, I don't see building. You have so many plans that that's already there to accommodate whatever it is that you want. So plan A, and then you find whatever it is with plan B already architect design to put beside A. Then you have what you need. But at the same time, you know, we we are very conservative in our decision making process. We are super conservative. So we we're at a standpoint now that the county is going to build the facility. But at the same time, those organizations that protest about the day center, and when it comes time to vote, you don't see them. They don't show up at any election. The election percentage is down, but they cast.
It's either
That
that or those are the only people showing up. It's one or the other. It's either they're not showing up or that's the only demographic that is showing up. But speaking of elections, Mr. Floyd, you sent me an article and it really when I read the article, I read it and I said, Floyd could have written this article because it's what we've been saying all along. And it was talking about how Democrats are being primaried when they are not towing the party line. So share a little bit about that.
well, there was two things. These I sent you that article, and I also tried. I sent you two articles. One of those was told Charles Williams that he was governor. One particular person that may become a rock star as he go into the January seating of the next Assembly. What has taken place is that the Democrat Party, and they boast about this, and this year they use the young Democrats, if you don't follow that solid white line, you will be primary. This year they
What
primary
is that solid white line, Mr. Floyd? What is the solid white line?
whatever I tell you to do, or whatever my suggestions and recommendations is, you cannot move left or right of that solid line.
And
You'll be
presently, the eye that is issuing those mandates would be who?
well, at this particular point in time, when they looked out in the cloud, they had to find some organization to assist them in the primary incumbent. This time they used the Young Men Democrat
Okay.
to
But no,
primary
what I'm saying, the question that I'm asking is who do they have to be following in order to stay safe? Who do
both
whose
Democrat
plan do the
both the House and Senate Democrat caucus and the North Carolina State Democrat Party.
Okay.
Okay, if you're Senate, Senate. If you're House, and it's the state caucus. But remember that the Young Men Democrat organization, is an auxiliary of the state Democrat Party. So they cannot do these things hypothetically on their own, because they are an auxiliary and follow the guidelines of the North Carolina uh, Democrat Party.
Mm-hmm.
So they were the one that this year uh, primary four candidates, and they were successful in doing in primary one, and that particular person lost by 42, somewhere in the neighborhood of 42 votes. But that person was the largest uh, person for his fundraiser in the Democrat Party,
Who is that person?
and that was Michael Ray out of Halifax County. In fact, he had given the Democrat Party when they needed $50,000 out of his out of his coffers. Now, remind you now, no African American can raise that kind of money, you know. So, but they primary him. They primary Willingham out of Edgecombe County, Brockman out of High Point, and Cunningham out of uh, out of Mecklenburg County, and also Senator Lowe out of Winston Salem, and I think it was Woodard out of Durham County.
Okay.
They primary these individuals because they did what these representatives were supposed to do, teach, and that is to bring back resources to their particular perspective. So, if a member, Jackson, Smith, or Lucas, step outside of that solid white line, they will be primary.
And
So,
so I remember when we were talking about this, you were kind of also talking about how our elected in Cumberland County that are Democrats, if they step outside of that line, they can expect to be primary too. And I said to you, I said, I think that Michael Colvin is insulated from that. And,
well,
you know,
yeah, I sort of disagree with you on that.
right,
Remember that Michael Ray, was the fundraising person for the House
right.
Democrat
But
caucus.
now let me tell you why I said that.
I'm just you different. You're dealing with a different group of people.
I
I don't
understand.
care. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but you're dealing with a vicious group of people. Is that when you step out of line, you will be primary.
I understand what you're saying. Now here's why I say that I think that I have to disagree with you on that because I believe that Michael Colvin is a part of the system that is backed by an individual who plays both sides of this ticket to be able to make sure that he can maintain his positioning or his not even positioning so that he can maintain momentum for what his plan, what his points that he is trying to get done are. And the person that I believe that is Jonathan Charleston. And I think that
I understand what you're saying, but and I respect what you're saying. But Jonathan Johnson has no relationship with those individuals. Once they seek and hum into you on primary. Now, however, now what again, teach? I sent you a card
yeah, I'm
with.
gonna get to that, but let
Oh,
me
okay.
let me let me finish making my
No,
point.
wait a minute. I sent you that. I sent you that card. Now, once they see that card and see that person's name on that card, and that person is help financing someone of the other party, Tish, that's also is an X.
See,
Okay.
and I disagree because I think that for so long we've thought that parties matter in a different way than they actually do. Because I think that the parties are intended to keep the politicians in their place, and I think that they're intended to keep the people that elect them in their place. But I think when you reach a certain level, those parties have very blurred lines. And the reason that I say that is because there are external factors that push upon these different politicians and these parties so that their policies and their ideology will move forward. We see it not only locally, we see it at a state level, and we see it nationally. So I think that the fact that Jonathan Charleston is an external player and not himself a politician is what gives some protection to these other people. And I point to Mitch Colvin as an example because Mitch Colvin has done things that by all intents and purposes the Democratic Party has despised. I can name a few of them, but he has never lost their support. And I think that the reason for that is because he's got an external handler that handles those situations for him. And
Understand
I
what you're
think that the
saying?
way that that external handler handles those situations is
Tish,
by
listen,
ensuring that he maintains
it's different.
relationships with powerful
It's
people on
different
both sides of the aisle.
once they see it's the same thing that they talk about primary. Once they see that you have voted along with the Republican on budgetary matters or matters, they go after you.
But
Okay.
Mr.
So
Floyd,
they
that's not been supported by evidence, as is evidenced by if we look at and I can only speak locally at this point, but if we look at Mitch Colvin, and even if we look at some of the people who have
I
gone on.
mean, I understand what you're talking about with Mitch. That's the city. But the state is on the state it is different. The state is different. If they see that this person is working both sides of the aisle, just like they have done,
Well, let's
uh,
show them. Let's show them. So this is John Zoka. John Zoka is a Republican. He was a House representative, and he was seeking to be elected to Congress. John Zoka, there was a fundraiser that was held for him. And this fundraiser was held by who?
It was, well, one of the leading names of those persons was Jonathan Charleston.
And we see Jonathan Charleston's name right here. So he was a host. And Jonathan Charleston, listen, and I'm not knocking Jonathan for this. This is one of the things that I think makes Jonathan such a power broker in our community, because Jonathan does not play Democrat Republican games. Jonathan plays the money game. If anybody ever saw the Steve Harvey clip where Steve Harvey was reprimanding Monique about her wanting him to uphold these ethics and integrities, and he said, this is not the ethics game. This is the money game. That's what Jonathan Charleston understands, is that you put your money with people in places that are going to move your agenda forward. You do not just leverage only Democrats. If we, the people, got this, if our listeners grabbed hold of this and understood this, they would have as much power. They would begin to leverage as much influence as we see Jonathan Charleston leverage. Because we the people want to stick with, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat.
It's a different ball. It's a different ball.
But the point that I'm making is not that it's a different ball game. The point that I'm making is, if you recognize that you leverage your influence by working on both sides of the aisle, then you understand the value of what this poster does for him.
Let me say to you, yeah, with this flyer, there's another matter that's taking place in our community that our community do not wish to have certain pieces of property rezoned. Okay. Now, the person that is making this request also looked at what you just said and said, who can we get to assist us in this rezoning request? And you know who that person was? Do you know who that person is?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because they see that that person, just like what you just mentioned, has a relationship with the council.
Right, but
Has
that's
a relation.
that's the entire point that I'm trying to make. While we, the people, are so busy fighting about whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, the people who are really pushing agendas and who are controlling both your Democrats and your Republicans don't care if you're either. They care, are you willing to
Yeah.
move my agenda forward? They don't care if we differ in this area or if we differ in that area. All they care about is, are you willing to move my agenda forward? You can do whatever else you want to do as long as you move my agenda forward. That's the problem we have as constituents, is that we are too possessed by a party structure that we don't recognize that the party structure only exists to control the citizens and to control the politicians, because the people that are making a killing in these streets off of the backs of the people and the politicians, because Jonathan Charleston is making more money off of the political system than most of us even recognize. He's the city's bond counsel. He's PwC's bond counsel. He's the attorney for housing authority, not just locally, but I think also maybe in another municipality as well. He was the city attorney for Spring Lake. Jonathan Charleston has his hands tied so intricately into the political structure, not just locally, not just statewide, but he's invested nationally as well. Somebody from his law office now works in the Biden administration. He's connected because he's not worried about if you're a Democrat or if you're a Republican. He's concerned about taking his resources, leveraging them for influence, and then getting those people to push his agenda forward no matter what they have, an R or a D. Our problem is we're fixated on the R and the D. We're arguing so much about that we are not understanding the leverage of working with who works with you. That's the
Well,
only point I'm trying to make. And it takes me back to what I said about Mike Colvin. I believe he's insulated because of those relationships. As long as he does not cross
I
Jonathan,
see it differently.
I think he's
I
good.
see it. I mean, I understand your point. I understand your point, but these individuals on the Democrat side are vicious when you step outside of that comfortable zone. And when they see that that person supported this on the Republican side, Tish, it's totally different. But I respect what you were saying, but it's a different ballgame.
So let me ask you this. Why don't they know that Jonathan? Why do we know? Because I've known that Jonathan Charleston supported Republicans for a long time. Why don't the Democrats know that?
But we're talking about something that may take place in the next General Assembly, okay, and going forward. That's what I'm speaking of. That influence will not be there with the Young Democrat caucus or any other once they see that this person's bloodline is this way. Totally different, Tish. Totally different. I don't disagree with you about this that and the section that you were talking about, but going forward, I see it totally different.
Okay, and Troy Williams recently wrote an article about Michael Colvin, and in that article, he didn't just write the article about Michael Colvin. So let me erase that. He wrote an article about the recent primary. He highlighted Michael Colvin, and also as did Myron Pitts in his article about the primary. But Myron also highlighted two other elected officials. But in Troy's article, or two other potential elected. In Troy's article, he said that Michael is positioned to almost, I guess, be a rock star up in Raleigh. So, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, one thing I can say, Tish, is that he is partially right if he stay on that solid white line. When he
Uh-oh,
get
did I
out that
lose you?
solid white line, then no, I'm still here.
Okay, go
If
ahead.
he stay on that white line, then he is correct. But he cannot deviate from that teach. I'm just explaining it to you. If you can ask Kurt that supported the governor veto uh, uh, that made us lose $132 million, he came back the next year and got $4.12 million. They target him, so he's not immune. Teach. And then
But but
you have
but Kirk wasn't in Jonathan's camp.
well,
Because if you got somebody who can call the
what I'm
dogs
just
off of
simply
you,
saying to you, Teach.
that matters.
I'm
But
just
if you
sharing
don't
with
have
you
somebody who
my
can call them dogs
experience,
off, then
my
you're
well, I mean, in the African American community, like you just mentioned, we base our whole lot on how we feel. And those persons that are expert look at the minority community and prey upon that. When you look at Edgecombe County, there, when you look at Halifax County, when you look at Scotland County, they prey upon the person's inability to grasp information and people that don't read. Those individuals who are highly from communities that are highly academic, they don't do it. We vote our whole thing on how we feel. And like you said earlier, they look at the dollars and the cents. That's what they look at.
So, Mr. Floyd, I think that the last thing that we had on our agenda to talk about was the General Assembly tweaking the budget. And I know that we've been talking a lot about the Opportunity Scholarship, and I want to drive the point home. You indicated that the Opportunity Scholarship is not back up for discussion until when? How long is it locked in its current state?
Can you repeat it?
How long is the Opportunity Scholarship locked in its current state?
It's locked in until 2032. What not in. So for us to sit and waste time thinking that that is going to be undone,
What
we
does that
need
mean when you say with an R and not an NR? Because I don't know what that means.
non-reoccurring and reoccurring.
Okay, so recurring means that it's gonna happen,
Exactly.
period.
Period.
Okay.
Non-reoccurring meaning it just funded for that physical year.
Okay.
You see, or doing that first biennium.
Okay.
Okay. But if you have an R, that means that it's also funded the second uh, part of that, part of that annual budget because it's 2 years.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so if our delegation want to look at raising teachers' pay or any other thing that they want to address, then they can do it during the full appropriation after the Office of the State Budget and Management give their forecast. And that
Okay.
forecast is based upon two things. December, which is Christmas, after Thanksgiving, that revenue picture. And
Mhm.
then after April the 15th, you will get a better picture of how the state finances look. So you begin to tweak the budget. Right now, the rainy day fund is hovering around somewhere around 4.7 billion, and their nest is about 3.27 billion. So, if they want to address raising teachers' pay or any other, then they ought to look at the rainy day fund, that surplus, and whatever money that may be left over from general revenue. But to talk about the scholarship is a good posture. It is good, but it had zero effect given that it's there and it's already appropriated, given the current body, which
Mhm.
means Republican control. So if they
Mhm.
want to do anything, look at that rainy day fund. And don't forget now, if you raise teachers' pay, you also got highway patrol, person
Mhm.
working in the penal system,
Mhm.
the court system. Also, those person too want to receive some dollars and cents too. If you give it to
Right.
one,
Right.
they keep on
Right.
giving.
Right.
So I'm saying there, the posture is to talk to our school system and all of them about, is it wrong? We all agree with that. But I do think that a parent should have the right to select, if possible, the school of their choice for their children. I
Mhm.
think that. And I still stand by that, because why would you send your daughter to a D school that's next door to your house when you can put her on a bus and get grandma to carry her, or a bus, or whatever
Right.
means of transportation to carry her and pick her up? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? So why not allow
Well,
that child to get a
Mr.
solid basic
Floyd,
solid
I don't
basic
know what
education,
is happening. I don't know what is
whatever
happening
environment?
with our I don't know what's happening with our connectivity, but you keep freezing up on me. Am I freezing on your end too?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, so we're having a connectivity issue. I don't know what's causing us to freeze, but I'll tell you, I think that it's always interesting when we go in and talk budget. I'll look forward to seeing what they come out with and where they're trying to reshift some dollars or reprioritize, because where your money is, that's where your heart is. I want to say this before we close out, Mr. Floyd. If sports betting was a politician, they would be winning in the mailers, because we have received at our house, and we don't even bet. We've received so many um mailers for FanDuel. We've gotten, like, I want to say, like, 3 mailers for FanDuel, and when I tell you, if they were a politician, they'd be leading right now in mailers, because they are spending a lot of money to let the state of North Carolina know you can bet on your sports now.
I mean, it's money. It's money, Teach, and it's job, and it's money too. At the end of the day, HBC would receive some of that money. And Fayetteville State by 2028 would get about 1.4, $1.8 million from this, which most of your schools funding come from tuition. And you can see when you look at Central A&T and all the other eight, you look for City, Winston-Salem, they don't, nowhere in the world they can fund their athletic programs like North Carolina State or University of North Carolina or Duke. They can't do it. So
So if you
it
want to know
helps.
my
And also
position,
create jobs.
right? So viewers, if you want to know my position about the sports betting, just go back 2 programs. And Floyd and I had a very robust conversation about that, and you can go back and listen to that. Because
It's
I
jobs.
don't.
See? It's jobs. I mean, you know, it's just like casinos. I know you don't like casinos, but the person can drive 40 minutes and be in Danville, Virginia, wherever it is up that way, and play the casino. But a wise man or a wise person who say that he can go to Danville and come back with all the money, you need to see if he or she had taken their medication.
So, Floyd, what are your
So
closing comments for today's program?
nothing, just be
You said
careful.
nothing. Say that
Nothing,
again.
just be careful.
What you want us to be careful of, friend?
Who is bringing the mail? Who is
Because it
bringing
could be a
the
wolf in
mail?
sheep's clothing.
Huh?
It could be a wolf in sheep's
Just
clothing.
look at who is bringing you the mail. That's the best thing that you know. Uh, I can recall we talked about the rezoning, and there was a meeting that took place, and I attended that meeting prior to going to Alan Rogers for the homegoing service. Later, that pastor of that fine church received a call from someone, uh, sort of a unique call there because he was representing the person that is requesting the rezoning. So that's why I'm saying beware of the person that bring you to me.
Yeah. And I guess today for me in closing, I would say screw that D and screw that R, because the real power brokers don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. They care whether or not you'll move their agenda forward. And they're not trying to stop you from doing what you want to do as long as you do what they want you to do. And I think that if we adopt that mentality as a constituency and we stop worrying about if somebody's in our political party and we start concerning ourselves with whether or not they're going to move forward our agenda and what we agree with, then we may experience a little bit of this power that we see some of these brokers leveraging throughout our community. Well, that was about to be, and my final statement was actually going to contradict specifically that, because my hope lie in the Lord. And if your hope lies in the party, I'm sorry, not you, Floyd, but if you are a person that is watching this, then you too, Mr. Floyd, if you're watching this podcast and you have your hope in this political system, I'm sorry for you, because this political system is going to fail you. Inevitably, it is going to fall apart. It was not built to be sustained. It was built to do exactly what it's doing. And as it does what it's doing, it is going to destroy those who have placed the most faith and confidence in its ability to save them. You better really understand who and what can save you, because it's about to get very difficult in these streets. We're about to see some hardships, Floyd. You can see it. We've been heading toward a recession for a very long time. If you look at the prices of things, inflation is through the roof. We are heading for a time and a season for a lot of people where if you are dependent on this system to take care of you, your quality of life is not going to be what you wish for it to be. So you really better know where your hope lay. You really better know where you place your confidence, and you really better be strategic and comfortable and confident in what you believe and how you choose to express that belief, because these times are not for the weak at heart and they're not for the faint. Mr. Floyd, I enjoy all of the banter between you and I about this, and I hope that our audience is able to extract something meaningful from both of us and what we're giving them, because I think you have a lot of wisdom and a lot of knowledge where this political process is concerned. I think you have a lot of firsthand insight about things that some of us will never experience, because we will never be in the House of Representatives. We'll never know what goes on behind those closed doors. So thank you for always being willing to talk about the truth of how the sausage is made.
Just don't go in the sausage store. Just
Just
eat the
don't do
sausage.
it. Just
Just
don't
eat
do
the
it. I know
sausage.
I don't recommend anybody get in the factory. I really don't.
Just eat
Look,
the sausage.
be a vegan. That's the gritty of the city and the word on the curb. We are your two hosts, Mr. Elmer Floyd and Miss Tisha Waddell. We love you. We care a great deal about what you know. Make sure that you like, share, follow, tell a friend to tell a friend, and listen. We'll catch you on the next episode.